The lights dimmed inside the grand hall, and a hush settled over the audience. Cameras panned across rows of glittering gowns and sharp black tuxedos, capturing the anticipation that filled the room. It was the kind of night that defined careers, a celebration of talent and dedication. No one, however, expected that the most unforgettable moment would come not from the announcement of a winner, but from a speech that would leave the entire audience silent. When the presenter called the name of Lee Min-ho, applause erupted instantly. He rose from his seat, composed but visibly emotional. The spotlight followed him as he made his way to the stage. His stride was calm, yet there was a subtle tension in his expression, as though he carried something deeply personal within him. In the audience, Song Hye Kyo watched quietly. Her face reflected pride, but also curiosity. No one knew that within minutes, she would become part of the night's most talked-about moment. Lee Min-ho stood before the microphone, holding the trophy with both hands. He took a deep breath. The applause gradually faded, replaced by silence. He began by thanking his team, his family, and the fans who had supported him throughout his journey. His voice was steady at first, professional and warm, but then he paused. It was a small pause, barely noticeable, yet it shifted the energy in the room. His eyes moved across the audience, as if searching for someone. When he spoke again, his tone softened. He said that there was one person he wanted to thank, someone who had inspired him during a difficult period of his career. The audience leaned forward. Cameras zoomed in. He mentioned Song Hye Kyo. The reaction was immediate. A ripple of surprise spread across the hall. Some guests exchanged glances, others whispered softly. The camera cut to Song Hye Kyo, who looked momentarily stunned. Her eyes widened slightly, and she straightened in her seat. Lee Min-ho continued, explaining that during a time when he questioned his direction and struggled with pressure, her work reminded him why he started acting. He described watching her performances late at night, studying the way she conveyed emotion without words. He said her dedication pushed him to be better, to dig deeper into his own craft. His voice grew more emotional. He spoke about resilience, about learning from peers, and about how inspiration sometimes comes quietly, without direct interaction. He emphasized that although they had not always worked closely, her influence shaped his approach to storytelling. As he spoke, the camera returned to Song Hye Kyo. Her composure began to soften. The corners of her eyes glistened under the lights. She tried to smile, but the emotion was unmistakable. She lowered her gaze briefly, then looked back toward the stage. The hall remained silent, captivated. Lee Min-ho ended by saying that success is never a solo journey. He thanked her for unknowingly being a source of strength and inspiration. His final words were simple. He said he hoped to one day repay that inspiration by delivering performances that would move others the same way hers moved him. Applause erupted again, louder than before. It was not just celebration, but recognition of a deeply human moment. Song Hye Kyo's reaction became the focal point. She wiped a tear gently, careful not to draw attention, but the cameras had already captured it. Her expression held gratitude, humility, and something deeper, a quiet acknowledgement of shared understanding between artists. As Lee Min-ho stepped off the stage, the atmosphere shifted from formal to intimate. Guests whispered about the sincerity of his words. Some applauded again. Others nodded in appreciation. It was the kind of moment that transcended awards and competition. Later, during the break, the two crossed paths backstage. The corridor buzzed with activity, stylists adjusting outfits, photographers preparing shots, staff moving quickly. Yet when they saw each other, the noise seemed to fade. Lee Min-ho bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. Song Hye Kyo smiled warmly, still visibly moved. She thanked him quietly. He responded that he meant every word. There was no dramatic exchange, no grand gestures, just a calm conversation between two professionals who understood the weight of their work. Witnesses described the moment as genuine and unforced. They spoke briefly about projects, about the pressures of public life, and about the importance of staying grounded. Then they parted, each returning to their responsibilities. Back in the hall, the ceremony continued, but the earlier moment lingered. Social media began to buzz almost immediately. Clips of the speech circulated rapidly. Fans commented on the authenticity, praising both the humility of Lee Min-ho and the emotional reaction of Song Hye Kyo. For many viewers, the scene felt cinematic. It was not scripted, yet it carried the emotional depth of a drama. Two respected actors, acknowledging each other in a way that highlighted mutual admiration and professional respect. As the night drew to a close, Song Hye Kyo reflected on the unexpected tribute. She later shared with close colleagues that such moments remind her why she continues to act. The idea that her work could inspire someone else, especially a fellow actor, meant more than any award. Lee Min-ho, meanwhile, remained humble about the attention. He told reporters that he simply wanted to express gratitude. He emphasized that artists often learn from one another, even without direct collaboration. The story spread beyond entertainment news. It became a conversation about inspiration, respect, and the quiet influence artists have on each other. Fans revisited past performances, analyzing scenes, rediscovering moments that define their careers. In the end, what made the moment unforgettable was not the trophy, nor the spotlight, but the sincerity behind the words. Song Hye Kyo's tears were not just a reaction to praise. They reflected the emotional connection that art can create, even between people who walk separate paths. The ceremony ended, the lights dimmed, and the guests departed. Yet the memory of that heartfelt speech remained. It was a reminder that behind the glamour and fame are individuals who draw strength from one another, who inspire without realizing it, and who sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, reveal the depth of their humanity. The moment did not end when the ceremony lights dimmed. In the hours that followed, conversations about the speech echoed through hotel lobbies, after-parties, and quiet car rides home. Guests replayed the scene in their minds, still surprised by how naturally the tribute unfolded. It had not felt rehearsed. It had not felt strategic. It had simply felt real. Backstage, Song Hye Kyo found herself surrounded by colleagues offering gentle smiles and warm congratulations. Some praised her influence. Others expressed admiration for the humility shown by Lee Min-ho. She thanked them politely, but inside, she was still processing the weight of what had just happened. Later that evening, as she stepped into her car, the city lights reflected softly on the window. She replayed his words in her mind. She remembered the long nights early in her career, the uncertainty, the constant pressure to deliver. She never imagined that those quiet struggles would one day inspire someone else. The realization brought a quiet sense of fulfillment. It reminded her that the work of an actor extends far beyond ratings or awards. It lives in the emotions it sparks in others. Meanwhile, Lee Min-ho attended a brief media session. Reporters asked him about the speech, about the sincerity behind his words. He answered calmly, explaining that inspiration often comes unexpectedly. He emphasized that watching performances by peers had helped him grow, and that acknowledging that influence felt important. His tone remained humble, almost understated, as though he did not fully grasp the magnitude of the moment. Clapperboard. Social media exploded overnight. Clips of the speech spread rapidly. Fans created edits showing key moments from both actors' careers. Comment sections filled with admiration. Many praised the mutual respect displayed. Others shared how meaningful it was to see artists uplifting each other rather than competing. The moment resonated beyond entertainment, becoming a symbol of professionalism and kindness. The following day, headlines focused on Song Hye Kyo's emotional reaction. Images of her wiping away tears circulated widely. Interviews with industry insiders described her as genuinely moved. Some recalled how she had always been known for her composure, making her emotional response even more powerful. It showed vulnerability, something audiences rarely saw in such public settings. Days later, the two actors crossed paths again at a smaller industry gathering. The atmosphere was quieter, more relaxed. They greeted each other warmly. Their conversation was brief, but meaningful. They spoke about upcoming projects, about the challenges of choosing roles that resonate, and about maintaining authenticity in an ever-changing industry. There was an easy comfort between them, built not on familiarity, but on mutual respect. Handshake. Observers noted that the interaction felt natural. There was no tension, no awkwardness. Just two professionals acknowledging each other's journey. That simplicity made the story even more compelling. It reinforced the idea that genuine admiration can exist without drama or expectation. In the weeks that followed, both actors returned to their schedules. Song Hye Kyo focused on a new role requiring deep emotional range. Lee Min-ho prepared for a project exploring complex characters. Yet the memory of that night lingered. It influenced interviews, shaped conversations, and reminded audiences of the human side of fame. Ultimately, the moment became more than just a speech. It became a reminder that inspiration travels quietly, that artists watch one another, learn from one another, and sometimes, in unexpected moments, express gratitude that touches millions. Song Hye Kyo's tears and Lee Min-ho's heartfelt words captured that truth perfectly. And long after the applause faded, the emotion of that night continued to resonate, proving that sincerity remains the most powerful performance of all. Sparkles.